Real estate is about freedom, choice freedom, time freedom, and money freedom, and the impact you can make with that freedom. But it doesn't come without cost. Your freedom takes work. That's why Neil Timmins brings together the tools you need to build your real estate legacy, from tips and tricks to interviews with industry titans. It's all here in one place. Real Grit. Let's get to it.
What if I told you can make 20 times the return of a single family fix and flip on your next big deal? Well, it's actually possible. It's possible inside the world of commercial real estate. Say, I'm inviting you to this free challenge. It starts August 15th. It's totally free. It's a 5-day challenge where I'm going to take you and deep dive into the world of commercial real estate, more specifically, capital multiplier properties, what that is, how we identify them. I'm going to show you how to identify them, how to evaluate them, and how to lock them up risk-free. I'm going to give you all the paperwork to do it. It's totally free. You can sign up to join us at www.20xprofitchallenge.com/real grit. That's www.20xprofitchallenge.com/real grit. And I'll see you in the challenge. Josh Hines coming right up. We're going to be talking about flipping homes. We're going to be talking about wholesaling, the deal that turned him from a flipper to a wholesaler. He'll go into detail there, how he went to virtually wholesaling, and then how he made a shift back, which is uncommon. And he'll tell you why he did it, how it was shift back to buying belly to belly in living rooms with people. Coming right up right now, Josh Hines. I've got Josh Hines here with me. I'm excited to talk to him. Josh, how are you, man?
Neil, I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here talking with you today, my friend. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It's good to see you. We were just chatting before we came on. It's been a couple of years since we've seen each other in person. So I'm excited to connect and see you here on Zoom together.
Definitely. I think it's been major growth for both of us in those past few years, wouldn't you say?
I would say so. Yes. Yep. You're absolutely right. Well, speaking of that, tell me here, we all got started somewhere, somehow in this business. How in the world did you step foot into the real estate space?
Oh, man. I would say that I went to a seminar back in the college days. I didn't do anything with it then. The investment banker kind of pulled me aside back then. And he says, hey, kid, look, this was during, I think this was like 06.
Okay.
And he goes, or 07. And he goes, hey, kid, look, I want to let you know I got you approved for no income verification loan of $750,000. And I was like a college valet, right? And so I have no real income coming in. And he said, you look like a good kid. And I just want to make sure you're not going to get a foreclosure on your first property. And so that kind of shook me a little bit. I didn't do anything with that loan. But then after I graduated college, my wife actually kept pushing me. And she said, we've been talking about this real estate thing for a long time. I found a great deal. She's a realtor. And so she did. She found it and she kind of had to push me along. And it turned into be our first flip. And that first flip was, I think we ended up breaking even on it, but it taught us a lot of lessons. And then we did another one after that. And so it just naturally progressed from there. But that first one really gave us the bug and made us see that, at the time I was making like 40 grand a year and like, holy smokes, we can make 40 grand or 50 grand on one house in 3 months here. Like, let's quit our full-time jobs and let's do this. So that was the one that got me the bug. And that was north of Baltimore, Maryland.
What year was that?
That was 2014, 2015, something like that.
Yeah, no. All right. So you get in there, you did your first one, you learned a lot, right?
A lot.
A ton. And then did you quit at some point? At what point did you quit to get into the space full time?
So we flipped for about 10 months or 12 months while I still had my full-time job. And then long story short, we transitioned really from flipping to wholesaling. I had a sales job. And so my bosses didn't really keep my schedule, which was nice. And so every single day I would cold call Monday to Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. And one day I just pulled a $25,000 wholesale fee out of my hat. And after my wife heard that, I think it was the next day after I signed that one, she came back and knocked on the door and she said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm cold calling. I'm like, what are you doing? And she said, quit your job. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, you should quit your job. If you can make 25 grand on the phone, then I know you can do it like more if you quit your job. And I said, when do you think I should quit? And she goes, tomorrow. And it took me like a month and a half to really to make that transition, but I ended up quitting. And then I just hit the phones really hard day in and day out. And so it's been nonstop ever since.
So far, we're hitting a theme that you should just listen to your wife more often.
You're absolutely right about that. You're absolutely right about that. She is definitely the gas pedal in our relationship. Yeah. I mean, I'm a go-getter, but when she has an idea, it's like that. Like, let's do it yesterday. What are we waiting for? And so she's definitely pushing me along pretty fast, and I've been very appreciative of that.
Yeah. What turned you on to wholesaling?
To wholesaling, I just knew that I was good at talking to people. And really, in my mind, it became a binary choice of managing a construction crew or talking to people on the phone. And I like talking to people on the phone a lot better. And so people were getting really good spreads. And I think I spoiled myself a little bit by getting a $25,000 assignment fee for my first one ever. Right. But to be honest with you, that really turned me on. I just thought if I could just do one of these a month, then I'm going to make 3x this year what we're going to make in our jobs combined. So that kind of made me jump.
That's incredible. All right. So bring me fast forward. You got now you're at the wholesale bug, right? And so you're building this business in the Baltimore area, and bring me forward. And what did that look like as you built your business?
Cool. So I was the solopreneur, really my wife and I, and maybe one VA for the first 2 years or so. And I was just doing everything. I mean, everything. I was pulling the list and, syncing the dialer and calling people and then running appointments and signing them, taking the pictures, dispoing it, doing the whole 9 yards. And so it took me really like 2 years of solid work through that to feel like I had consistency in our deals. And I just thought, okay, now I see it where if I get up and I call every day, I'm going to get deals. And I'm confident now that we can hire people. And this is going to become like an actual thing, right? It's going to become an actual company. Mm-hmm. So I did it for about 2 years. And then after that, I really started to hire more of a team of VAs. But it really became Josh and a bunch of helpers around me. I didn't really have SOPs, and I didn't really know what to tell them the next thing was to do. When I had a one-off task, I gave it to them. And that takes us to probably 2020. In 2020, I got my office, and I'll never forget, I got the office and signed on the lease. And then 2 weeks later, the world is shutting down from COVID.
Wow.
And I thought, what the hell have I done here? But anyway, I was still fortunate to be able to hire some good people in the office, and I started to form a team around me. And so at the point of 2020 was the point where we really took and expanded our deal flow. I think in 2019, I did something like 33 deals. 2020, I did 65 deals.
Wow.
So we really expanded it that year. And so ever since, I've learned a lot of mistakes about hiring and how to hire the right people, but I've been growing my team steadily since. And right now we're sitting at about 12 people, half of those US based, half of those in other countries.
Is today's core business, are you just focused on or primarily focused on wholesale?
The majority, yes. I'm still about 70 to 75% wholesale. We'll still wholesale, flip some properties, and then we're taking some down ourselves. But the majority, yes, it's still wholesale.
What's changed over the course, as we went from 2021 to 2022, interest rates changed in your business. How did that, kind of a changing economic and housing environment impact you?
Well, it's changed a lot for sure. We were lucky. I went to, you probably know him, but Rafael Vargas. I went to one of his seminars late 2020.
Okay. And I probably one of his last ones he did.
I think it was the last, maybe the second to last, but yeah, right there. And I met Steven Morales, and I'll never forget, Steven Morales taught me really a few things of how to close virtually. Mm-hmm. And so that was instrumental for us. In 2020, we started closing virtually all through COVID. But then really last year, we transitioned out of closing virtually. So we did in 2021, we did something like 85 transactions for like $900,000. So we were squeezing out a lot of deals, but the net profit was very, very small in each one. And so then we've really gone back to going acquisitions in person. Last year, we did like 75 deals, but we over doubled what we did the previous year.
In revenue.
Yeah. In revenue, gross profit. Yep. And so we've been buying a lot deeper. And that's just attributed to really good processes now and really good people. So in the past 2 years, I've really been able to attract strong people on my team who are very goal driven. And we've been able to put really good processes and training in place. But it started with the great people. I used to try to mold C players into B players and A players. And you know how that goes. It just doesn't really work out.
Correct.
So when I've been able to source really good team players and combine that with training and SOPs, we've been able to take this to the next level.
Outside of the training, the SOPs, really good people, everything associated with that end of it. And if you just put head to head, buying over the phone, so buying virtually or buying in person, is there a difference?
Oh, absolutely.
And how does that manifest itself in the experience, the process, maybe more so the experience for the consumer and the home seller, and then for you on a revenue side?
Yeah, there's a huge difference. So the last year that we went in virtual closing, like 100%, that was 2021. Like I mentioned, we did 85 deals for 900 grand or something like that. So our average spread was about 12,000 on those, but our cost per deal was like 9,500. And so the net margins on those was really small after I paid commissions and everything.
Yep.
But I really think that the client that you're serving is much different there. You have to do so much volume in terms of your texts and your cold calls and your offers. So what does it boil down to? It boils down to someone who's looking to sell, but for the right number.
Right.
And so it's a lot harder to find someone who's truly motivated. Now, fast forward to 2022 and 2023, we're 95% in-person acquisitions. And that allows you to go belly to belly, sit on the stinky couch with the person, but sit there for an hour to 2 hours and dive deep into their motivation. Really, why are they looking to sell? They have a problem, and the solution is not just a number that you're going to give them. The solution is everything else. It's all the other value that you can give them around a number. And so that's really what we've been good at. We've been able to dive into that process and unlock that person psychologically to find out really what are they looking for, because it's always more than a number. If you're going in and only offering a number, what do you think the whole conversation surrounds? You're always talking numbers then, right?
That's right.
And we as wholesalers, we as off-market investors, do we specialize in giving the highest number? No. So we don't want to have that conversation that's always centered around the number. We want to talk about their why. How can we help you out and where can we get you?
Yeah, no, I love that. Tell me also the percentage of contracts that fall out. So when you go under contract to them falling out, not going to closing, on the phone versus in person.
On the phone was a lot higher. In 2021, I think we were at about 34%. So we were just over 1 in 3. And, on the phone virtually, you would lock up things that, could be a deal, that were close, that were tight. Right. And if they didn't, you're like, oh, we're on to the next. We'll call and release them. We'll try to price drop them. We're on to the next. I've always prided myself in not price dropping people if I don't absolutely have to.
Yep. So
that's not a tactic that I use. But releasing from the contract was a lot easier. Now that we're in person, we're releasing for less than 20%. And a lot of those aren't even because we want to release. We've had issues. We do in Baltimore City, some of our properties.
Yep.
And so we run into title issues, into lien issues, into tax issues, into seller issues, right? Some of the things are unavoidable. It's a lot of hair on these deals, especially in the inner cities. And so even when we're dropping those properties, sometimes we can't help it. But right now we're remaining below 20%, and we have for the past year and a half.
You know what I find impressive? You're running this company out of Baltimore, and you don't live in Baltimore.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's quasi virtual for you. We're not necessarily you buying virtually, but you're operating the business virtually.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know that was one of the reasons? As you know, we moved to Florida a little over a year ago. I lived in Baltimore County. Like the Under Armour founder lived a mile and a half down the road from us. He's built this massive mansion there.
Cool.
Huge. It's like horse country where we lived. But our office, we were 13 miles north of the city, and we were virtually closing all these people in the city. And I thought, why the heck do we have to be 13 miles north? I could be 1,300 miles away or 13,000 miles away.
Right.
And really during the peak of that COVID lockdown, that's what triggered us to move. I was just like, we don't need to be here. We can be anywhere.
Yeah.
And so we knew the city well enough. And I think that's really enabled us to really lock up a lot of those deals. But yeah, we don't need to be near the city to lock up those deals, right? We can be anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. You actually had that epiphany, that thought, because I think a lot of people, they get stuck in their own head. Limiting beliefs hold them back in a lot of ways, but you're able to challenge a thought there and go, if I'm doing it here, I can do it anywhere. A phone to phone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We were. Limiting beliefs are hard to come past sometimes.
Yes.
But once I think one of the things that I've done well for myself in my career is jump in and do it. Right. So with the cold calling, I didn't know anything about real estate. Like when I did my first flip, I knew nothing about real estate and I knew nothing about rehab. Our first contractor told us, we're going to have to demo everything. Is that fine? And I said, yeah. Well, I came back 3 days later and everything was gone inside. It was completely gutted. And I said, what the hell happened? What did you do? And he said, I told you to gut it. And I said, I didn't know what you meant by that. Like, that's how little I knew. That's how little I knew about real estate when I jumped in. Yeah. But I knew how to cold call and pick up the phone and talk to people and find out really why they wanted to sell. Yeah. And so one of the things that you can do to build your confidence is actually take action, right?
Yes.
Those results start to breed into confidence. And as your confidence starts to grow, you're like, well, I can expand and do even more. And so a lot of the times where I've gotten my confidence from is actually doing it and then being able to teach the next person on my team. So that's kind of helped shatter some of those limiting beliefs that a lot of people run into early.
I love what you just said. Ultimately, action precedes confidence.
Absolutely does. Yeah, it absolutely does. There's a lot of people that try something 1 or 2 times and they're so nervous they can't pick up the phone and talk to a seller, right? But after you do it for an hour or 2 hours, that melts away. Yep. And then you start to build confidence. But the real key there is perseverance, pushing through it.
Talk to me about your team and your core values, the culture of your team with not being there, physically. I know you're there virtually all the time, but not being there physically. How have you been able to manage that and manage the proper culture with the people?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I first moved, we were in office, but buying virtually. And then when I moved, we went fully virtual, but buying in person. And so that's quite a transition.
Yes.
And I thought to myself, I don't know how I'm going to tell the team like who we are. And so for 3 or 4 months, I just kind of buried it and didn't talk about it. Just went on business as normal. And then one day I had an epiphany. I said, we should plant this flag in the ground and say we're a fully virtual team. But what does that really mean? It means that we all work on our own. Right? We all work on our own hours as well. We have, guidelines for how we work and when we work, but everyone works in their own place. They travel and work on vacation, and they work on some of their own hours. And so I planted that flag in the ground and I said, here's what it means to be an impact home team. Here's what it means to be a virtual company. Here's what we expect, but here's the benefits. And so it was something that the whole team was already into. The team wanted to be able to travel and they wanted some flexible time. In terms of core values, yes, I can attitude. That's huge for us. Yes, I can attitude. We always strive for more. And that's something that I think is really important on our team. We hold each other accountable. And then we have an excellent attitude as well. So the thing when we always strive for more, my wife and I have something that we call excited urgency. And this is something that a lot of people lack, I think. But, when you run into an issue, you're always saying, well, what's the next step? How can I help? How can I get to that next step? How can I move this thing forward? A lot of people will run into title company issues and title companies say, oh, it's not, the lien certificate's not in yet. And they'll sit back and wait. And as you and I both know, title companies kill a lot of deals.
Correct.
Right. And so that excited urgency will push me forward to the point where I'm asking the title company to do something else, or I'm making that call for the title company. And I've been able to move so many deals forward because of that. And it's one of our personal core values, excited urgency. But that, that's a little bit about how we've built our culture, and really, being on Impact Home Team. I think as we brought together A players and these high performance people, everyone loves to see the growth from everyone else. Everyone cheers on each other, and there's no shark eat shark, right? We're not in this environment where we're trying to steal deals from each other to get a new paycheck. We're cheering each other on. And as the owner, as the operator here, I love to pay my guys commission. I love to pay them extra commission. I love, seeing them win, and I love supporting them however I can.
So you're attracting A players. Tell me, you've identified what the company is, what you stand for, really what this place is, right? Would you been able to identify or attract A players without being able to do that?
I can tell you that's a solid no, because for the longest time, I never really talked about our culture. I never talked about our vision or our mission to our team. And anyone who had a little ambition and a little bit of the skill set, I'd be like, oh, come on in. Come on. Looks like you can do this job. And I put the wrong people into the wrong seats for the longest time. And I could never attract that talent because do you know who A players love working with?
A players.
Other A players.
Mm-hmm.
If you have B players and C players in there, A players are like repelled from that. And so I didn't realize that either. So essentially, I had to break down the business and start again and be on the hunt for the first A player. And one of my true A players is in acquisitions, and the dude's a stud. And it makes it so much easier to bring on, for instance, a disposition agent when you say you're going to get 5 or 6 new deals a week to sell, right? You're not going to have to call 400 people to try to like drum up some business.
Right.
You're getting handed some smoking hot deals and you're getting paid commission on those, right? So A players attract other A players. And that's a lesson that was hard to learn for me.
What's one little underrated or unknown business habit or tool that you possess or that you use that attributes to your success?
Oh man, here's one, and I gave this to you to give to your audience.
Yeah.
But the 4 pillars of motivation. This has become an absolute staple in our business. And we could talk to any team member on my team right now, and they'd be able to tell you up and down what the 4 pillars of motivation is and why it's important. But Neil, we ask 4 questions to every lead that we get. We only do inbound marketing. So people are coming to us asking us to buy. But the 4 pillars of motivation, we can tell inside of 5 minutes whether someone has true motivation or not. And so standardizing that process at the very beginning of all of our calls has been absolutely transformational. There's a lot of people out there who try the business, and I'm sure they, have a shotgun approach and anything goes on any call, and you're just going to get such mixed results. But I found that the 4 pillars of motivation is something that just sets everyone else up on our team for success. And when you find something, when you find an error, or you find that maybe I went on an appointment that I shouldn't have, we can always track back where they went wrong within the 4 pillars of motivation. So very short little script, but super powerful. And that's one of the things that help propel us forward into a lot bigger deals.
And as you mentioned, you're making that contribution here as part of the Real Grit Vault, a collection of resources available to our listeners. 4 pillars of motivation and a 30-minute masterclass recording. Tell us a little about that.
Yes, indeed. So I do a marketing masterclass, a 2-day marketing masterclass, where I show you from soup to nuts how we organize all of our marketing. But the 30-minute masterclass, here's that portion of the masterclass where I go over for almost 30 minutes, just the 4 pillars of motivation, and talk to you about how to say the questions, the tonality, the range of answers that you get, and then really how to interpret all those answers. Because as I teach in that class, the answers to the 4 pillars of motivation is an algorithm for that lead's motivation. And so when you're all done those 4 pillars, you should be able to take those answers and put it together. And that adds up and is going to tell you, is this person super motivated or do they have low motivation? And so that's a really good resource that I hope your audience gets a lot of value out of.
Tremendous contribution. You guys can get it at www.realgritvault.com. Let's do this. Tell me about, before I move on to the final segment, where are you guys headed? What's 2023 and going forward the next few years? What's it look like for you guys?
Yeah, good question. So in 2021, again, we did like 85 deals for 900 grand. Last year, we did 75 deals for 1.65 million, something like that. This year, we're going to do 135 deals for a little over 3 million. So we've turned up our marketing, but we've really dialed in all of our processes and we dialed in our people. So on the residential side, we're going to double again this year. I'm confident of that. But we're also taking a page from your book and we're going to get into commercial a little bit. So currently we're searching for commercial multifamily and self-storage down here in Florida. So big things in store, both for the residential side, but we're also, I'm able to take back a little bit of my time now and become a student again and step into a new realm and start that new growth into another field. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, not only are you a student, you're also a giver, right? You know, you run a very large, very active Facebook group. Tell us a little about that.
Yeah, absolutely. For the past 3 years, I've run a group that I started called the Lead Gen Underground. And that's where we talk everything lead generation, marketing, and sales in real estate. So give tips there all the time. We have a very active community there that contributes. And really, we love talking very, very deep into processes and tips there, things that you're not going to find in most other places. So very active community. We'd love it if you joined us, the Lead Gen Underground.
We'll make sure we get that link below in the show notes for anybody to connect up there. It's a terrific group. I'm part of it, have been for years. So it's a wonderful spot. Let's do this. I want to move on to the final segment, what I call 4 impact. So your favorite quote: the quality of your life is in direct reflection of the quality of the questions you are asking yourself. Tony Robbins said it. What about that resonates most with you?
Oh, man. I've come to find that in life, the biggest moves that you can make to move yourself forward are all internal, right? If you're around waiting for other people to change or the world to change or the market to change or the conditions to change, you're going to be disappointed in how life turns out. But if you can look inward and you can start to make a lot of inward changes, and that's specifically by asking yourself a lot of questions, then I think you can start to move the needle forward a lot. And so my wife always used to say, "Why do you ask so many questions?" And I said, "Well, you don't like me asking questions?" And she said, "No, it doesn't bother me, but I've just never heard anyone ask so many questions." And I said, "I'm a very curious person. I want to do a lot in life." And so I think that served me quite well, just being able to look inward and say, what am I really trying to accomplish here? Because it's not, really 130 deals.
Correct.
Like that's the surface level thing of why of where I want to get to.
Yeah.
But really, when you start to ask yourself questions, you get to your internal beliefs and your whys, and you can start to move things forward a lot. But Alex Hormozi talked about this the other day, 4 key questions that can really move you forward. He said, what are things that you're unaware of and how to get there? He said, are you aware of things and how to get there? Are you aware of how to ask other people to accomplish something? Are you aware of how to get yourself to accomplish something? And are you, the fourth is escaping me. But he's asking about known unknowns and unknown unknowns, basically.
Yep.
And so if you can ask yourself questions on what you don't know, you can really step into a new level of discovery and put yourself around those people, right? Much like masterminds that you're a part of and I'm a part of. When you start putting yourself around these other people and you start seeing what's possible out there, those are some of the biggest shifts that you can make in life. When you start to see what's possible and you realize how small you've actually been playing.
That space between where you're at and what's possible, there's already a roadmap. People have already been there. People have already done that. They've already forged the road.
Is it that like the book, Who Not How?
Yes.
That's what that talks about. And man, what a big mindset shift. So you stop thinking, well, how am I going to do it? You don't have to sit there for hours and hours and map it out and try to knock down all these imaginary roadblocks. You look out there and see who else has accomplished what I want to accomplish. And how do I align myself with them? How do I learn from them? Even if it's paying them a good deal of money, it's going to be a shortcut rather than figuring it out yourself.
For sure. What do you think holds most investors back from hitting their personal next level?
I would say probably what you said before, and it's limiting beliefs. We're all operating on some sort of script or some sort of playbook or some sort of beliefs that have been given to us, whether it's by your parents, your family, your friends, the TV. We're all operating on some sort of belief somewhere in life that other people have given to us that we haven't generated ourselves. And so when you have the ability to discover these kinds of things and knock them down, but I'm sure you hear it a lot too. A lot of people are out there and they just say, well, I can't do that. Who am I to do that? I can't raise $10 million. I can't buy an apartment building. I'm not, I hear it from my family a lot. I'm not you, Josh. I can't do it. And it makes me laugh because just like 6 years ago, I was working for a $40,000 job. All it was is self-discovery and asking those questions and breaking down those beliefs and then having that confidence to move forward, right? So that confidence that we talked about. But I think it's a lot of those things people have in their own mind. I can't do that. I'm not Neil. I'm not Josh. I'm not so-and-so. I didn't come from that kind of family, right? So those limiting beliefs really hold people back, but you have the power to change them, which is what's so interesting.
You're absolutely right. Outside of real estate, what are you most passionate about?
Oh, my big why is my family legacy. And my family legacy means something more than money. I know a lot of people think legacy and they think, oh, it's just, all about leaving a trust fund or something like that. That's probably like 5 to 10% of it for us.
Yeah.
My wife and I, we had a pretty deep conversation about a year ago, and we realized that our families collectively have left us nothing. And I don't mean no money, but they certainly left us no money. But besides that, they left us no knowledge about how the world really works. They left us no knowledge about how economics really work, about how markets really work. No one in any of our families talked to us about entrepreneurship. They didn't talk to us about their favorite books. They didn't talk to us about mentors, traveling, right? Any of the things that we really love to do. And God bless them. I'm not mad at a single soul, but they left us nothing. And so my goal going forward is to leave a legacy to my family so they don't have to start from square one like we did. Yeah. Just imagine all the things that I'm 38 years old. Imagine if I can take what I've learned in these 38 years and plug it into my kids, the beliefs, and plug it into them at a young age, and they start their adult life from where I'm like finishing, right? That will lead to a super powerful life, not in terms of money, but in terms of accomplishments, in terms of giving, in terms of impact to other people. And so our legacy is going to include a lot of things to them. But I hope that they can go on and make a much larger impact than even I can, because they're going to start from a completely different place, especially with their beliefs and the scripts that they start from in life.
Change your lineage forever. It's incredible.
Absolutely. To change the family tree, right?
That's exactly right. What's your favorite way to make an impact in the community?
My favorite way to make an impact in the community is really to help clean up a lot of streets that we've been buying from. And so I think we can do that in a very real way. And we have done that in a very real way in and around Baltimore. That's where I lived for a number of years, north of Baltimore. And we've been able to change communities by actually doing what we say. And so as investors, there's a lot of fly-by-night operations. There's a lot of people who call themselves investors out there. And at the end of the day, they leave sellers and homeowners hanging, right? They don't fulfill that promise. So I think simply saying what we do and doing what we say, fulfilling that and helping that homeowner out of their bad situation is a way that we've really been able to help the communities that we serve in the past 6 or 7 years.
That's great. Josh, you got an amazing story about, getting turned on to this industry, getting pre-approved for a house you couldn't afford to begin with, and being smart enough not to go down that path, but then getting in, learning about wholesaling, and ultimately, that probably changed the total outcome of your life inside this business for the better.
Absolutely. One more thing. I went back and I asked Ashley. She became a realtor. I met her when she was becoming a PhD student, and she dropped out of that program and she said, "What should I do?" And I said, you should go into real estate. And she said, "What should I do?" And I said, "I don't know, search the job boards for real estate and just do something to get started." And she said, "Why do you think it's good?" And I said, "I've always wanted to get in real estate and I've just not been able to do it yet." And so she got in, right? And I mean, we've been able to when I went back to her one time, I said, "Ashley, you're bringing me all these on-market properties. How do we find the off-market properties?" And she said, "I'm pretty sure that's illegal." And and so that was like a real turning point when we found out what off-market properties were. And you're right, it changed my life forever, because I was able to leave a job that I didn't like. It wasn't fulfilling to me. It didn't make me happy inside. And I really, honestly, we would not be where we're at right now in terms of my family location or my family size or my happiness in life if I wasn't able to leave that job back then.
Yeah, it's incredible. For people, they want to find you, they want to follow you, they want to connect with you. Where should they go? What should they do?
Join my group, the Lead Gen Underground, on Facebook. And then you can also follow me on Instagram. So it's Instagram.com/Josh with Impact. Josh with Impact. Impact like Impact Home Team, or make an impact.
Love it. We'll make sure we get the links put below. Josh, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Neil, thanks so much for having me. And I hope I provided some value to your audience here, my friend.
Tremendous. Yes. Thank you so much. For everybody here at Real Grit, I'm Neil Timmins, reminding you that real estate requires real grit. See you next time. What if I told you can make 20 times the return of a single family fix and flip on your next big deal? Well, it's actually possible. It's possible inside the world of commercial real estate. Say, I'm inviting you to this free challenge. It starts August 15th. It's totally free. It's a 5-day challenge where I'm going to take you and deep dive into the world of commercial real estate, more specifically, capital multiplier properties, what that is, how we identify them. I'm going to show you how to identify them, how to evaluate them, and how to lock them up risk-free. I'm going to give you all the paperwork to do it. It's totally free. You can sign up to join us at www.20xprofitchallenge.com/real grit. That's www.20xprofitchallenge.com/real grit. And I'll see you in the challenge. If you like our content and want more, you can access it at realgritpodcast.com. You hear it guest after guest. Instinctively, you already know it. But let me call it out. The most expensive action is inaction. The real estate market is full of opportunities. You just need to uncover them. You can build a business that lasts for years, makes monumental impact in the lives of those that you love. It's not just about business, but about the freedom you get because of it. Have you ever heard the saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I believe that partnering is essential. In fact, I partner with hardworking investors all the time. The point is that you can get a lot further with the right partner. Let me say it again, the right partner. If you've ever thought about partnering with anyone, or if you have a partner now, I encourage you to download my free Partner and Profit Guide, which includes the top 5 must-answer questions to evaluate a profitable partnership. You can find it at www.legacyimpactpartners.com. I'll see you in the next episode.